Imagine a world where Spider-Man doesn't swing from skyscraper to skyscraper. There's no Avengers to save the world or X-Men to fight for acceptance. Just blank comic book pages waiting to be filled. Without one man's imagination, that might have been a reality. Today I'm going to tell you about the incredible life and lasting impact Stan Lee had on the world and pop culture. First, I want to say Stan Lee didn't just create superheroes, he created relatable people that were more than capes and more than superpowers. First, I want to talk about Stan Lee's early life, how he got started in comics. Next, I'll explain what made his work at Marvel so revolutionary, and then I'll share his influence and how it's still felt around today. Stan Lee was born on December 28, 1922 in New York City during the Great Depression. He lived in a small apartment with his parents and younger brother. His father worked as a dress cutter and often struggled to find work. That taught Stan about hardships early on. At a young age, Stan loved adventure stories and hero tales. At just 17 years old in 1939, Stan got a job at Timely Comics, which would later become Marvel. His job at first wasn't glamorous. He fetched coffee, erased pencil marks, and did all the artist's dirty work. But he paid attention and learned how comics were made, and he was fascinated by the creativity around him. By age 19, he had become the editor-in-chief, a huge accomplishment for someone so young. It just showed how much drive and dedication he had and all the talent he had. In 1960, Stan Lee changed comic books forever. Working for legendary artist Jack Kirby, he co-created new generation superheroes: Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Hulk, Iron Man, Thor, and Black Panther. Those are just a few. Before Stan Lee, most comic book heroes were perfect. They were fearless, flawless, and untouchable. But Stan asked, what if those heroes were just like us? What if Spider-Man was a shy teenager dealing with school, paying bills, and bullying? What if X-Men were faced with discrimination and misunderstanding? What if Iron Man battled his own inner demons and didn't just use brawn, but used his brains? These were characters people could relate to. Heroes who failed and doubted themselves and still got back up again. Lee introduced something called the Marvel method of storytelling. Instead of writing full scripts, he would outline the story and let artists create action visuals, and then he'd go back and add dialogue, blending words into the art. A more dynamic, collaborative process. This not only sped up the production of comics, but also gave artists creative freedom, something that helped shape Marvel and its kind of style it has today. His writing brought humor, humanity, and hope to every story. Readers didn't just see heroes, they saw themselves. Even after retiring from writing comics, Stan Lee never stopped being part of Marvel. His fans loved spotting him cameos all across early Marvel movies, from like a bus driver in Infinity War to like a mailman in Fantastic Four. His creations became the foundation for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like Black Panther, Iron Man, Spider-Man, No Way Home, they all reached billions of dollars and billions of fans across the globe, all rooted with stories Stan Lee created in the earlier decades. But maybe his legacy isn't the characters, it's the message behind them. Stan Lee believed that anyone could be a hero, no matter what circumstances you had in your life. Whether you were poor, whether you were rich, whether you had no hardships or had some hardships. He reminded the readers that courage, kindness, and responsibility define true strength, as he famously wrote, and the Amazing Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. Even after his passing in 2018, his spirit continues to inspire storytellers, artists, and fans all around the world. From comic conventions to classrooms, his creativity and optimism shape the stories we tell today. Today we look at Stan Lee's early life and how he rose from a humble assistant to a legendary creator. We explored how his innovative storytelling at Marvel transformed the comic book industry, and we saw how his legacy lives on, not just through movies or merchandise, but through millions of people. Stan Lee once said, "With great power comes great responsibility." He lived by that, using his imagination to inspire others and remind us that anyone can make a difference. Because of him, we can all believe that heroes can come from anywhere, maybe even from us.